The Property Bulletin by London Property, the home of superprime.
Recent data from 2023 and 2024 reveals that Britain's rural property market has been cooling due to high interest rates, the return to office work, and potential tax hikes on second homes. Yet the country's most coveted wealth hotspots, like the Cotswolds, Cheshire's Golden Triangle, and Cornwall's Padstow and Rock, continue to attract the ultra-wealthy. These areas remain exclusive, with property deals often taking place discreetly, making them difficult to access. For those without the vast budgets required to buy in these premium areas, there is a growing opportunity to invest on the outskirts, where house prices are softening due to higher mortgage rates. Stratton Parker's research highlights that in regions like Cheshire and the Cotswolds, prices in nearby areas are 51 to 63% lower than in the wealthiest enclaves, presenting more affordable entry points. One of the prime examples is the Cotswolds, where luxury villages such as Stow-on-the-Wold, Burford, Charlbury and Great Tew have seen house prices rise by 116% over the past decade. This hotspot, popular since the 1960s, has remained in vogue thanks to Michelin-recommended restaurants, exclusive hotels, and designer farm shops that cater to modern tastes. This area is also home to stars like property magnate John Hitchcock's and culinary icon Dame Prue Leith, both of whom find inspiration in the region's idyllic landscape. With hotspots like Soho Farmhouse and Dalesford Organic Farm Shop drawing celebrities and influencers, the Cotswolds remains a bubble unlikely to burst anytime soon. For those seeking a taste of this exclusive lifestyle at a lower cost, areas surrounding these luxury enclaves are becoming attractive options, offering access to a glamorous rural lifestyle without the sky-high price tag. The UK rental sector faces a growing crisis, as landlords are being squeezed out by increasing taxes, stricter regulations, and new proposals from Labour, which could spell further trouble for renters. The profits landlords once enjoyed have been slashed over the past decade, leading to a significant sell-off of rental properties and exacerbating the housing shortage. Since 2016, landlords have sold 300,000 more properties than they've bought, largely due to a raft of tax measures, including the stamp duty surcharge and the reduction of mortgage interest relief. As mortgage rates rise and costs like maintenance and insurance surge, many landlords are struggling to remain profitable. In London, for example, where rental yields are lower, some landlords are now operating at a loss. Labour's anticipated changes could make matters worse. Their proposal to align capital gains tax with income tax rates could force landlords to pay tens of thousands of pounds more when selling a property. The Renters' Rights Bill, which eliminates no-fault evictions and tightens eviction rules, adds more pressure on landlords by making it harder to manage problem tenants. The legislation is also expected to increase costs for tenants by as much as 10%. These combined pressures have prompted calls for the government to halt punitive tax reforms and reconsider the Renters' Rights Bill. If landlords continue to exit the market, the housing shortage will only deepen, and renters will face higher prices and fewer options. However, advocates of the reforms argue that the focus should be on protecting tenants and increasing home ownership, rather than maintaining a rental market that leaves many renters struggling to find affordable, secure homes. A recent report on retirement housing claims that there are urgent needs for radical changes to housing policy. Such changes might benefit both the elderly and younger generations. The UK's 65-plus population is projected to increase from 11.2 million today to 17.2 million by 2040, making up 25 to 30% of the population in many areas. As older people increasingly remain in their homes longer, underoccupied housing becomes more common. This creates strain on health and social services, with many elderly individuals needing independent living with some support, not traditional residential care. As a result, around 12,000 hospital beds are occupied by people who no longer need medical care but have no suitable housing options available. Modern retirement housing has evolved, offering independent living, comfort, and amenities for both buyers and renters. Larger developments can provide communal services, 24/7 staffing, and sometimes nursing care. These high-quality retirement communities could play a key role in easing pressure on the housing market. A significant issue is underoccupied homes, which lose more bedrooms each year than are being replenished by new builds. If older individuals moved into more appropriately sized homes, it would free up mainstream housing and reduce the need to build 50,000 new homes annually. With 80% of the 65-plus population owning their homes outright, their housing wealth could help fund the transition to more suitable properties. However, only around 3% of new homes each year are retirement units, when there is likely demand for as many as 50,000. Increasing retirement housing would reduce the demand for more expensive care facilities, as people would remain healthier and live independently for longer. Several obstacles have led to the neglect of retirement housing in the UK. These include outdated perceptions of retirement living, emotional attachment to family homes, and planning rules that disincentivise developers. Planning laws often apply infrastructure levies on retirement developments, unlike residential or nursing care homes. As a result, fewer suitable housing options exist for those who wish to downsize, especially in the areas they currently live. The report has 6 recommendations for change. 1. Build more retirement homes. Building 50,000 retirement units annually would improve housing stock efficiency and stabilise house prices. 2. Develop more integrated retirement communities. These communities provide both care and communal facilities. The UK lags behind countries like Australia and New Zealand, where these developments are in higher demand. 3. Repurpose high streets. Vacant high street buildings could be converted into integrated retirement housing, contributing to local regeneration and addressing housing needs. 4. Reform planning rules. Outdated planning rules should be updated to encourage larger retirement developments, factoring retirement housing needs into local authority plans. 5. Introduce tax incentives and grants. Financial incentives could encourage downsizing or home improvements, helping older people move into more suitable accommodation. 6. Provide financial advice for downsizing and care costs. Moving into retirement housing can be complex, particularly when transitioning from home ownership into renting or leasing. Independent financial advice should be available to assist older adults in making informed decisions. In conclusion, adjusting housing policy to better address the needs of last-time buyers might not only benefit the elderly by providing more suitable living options, but it might also free up housing for younger generations and reduce the strain on social services. Campaigners are criticising the government for stalling on promised leasehold reforms in England and Wales, with homeowners still waiting for key changes outlined in the Leasehold Reform Act to take effect. Residents' groups are urging ministers to pass the necessary secondary legislation to enforce the Act, which was passed with cross-party support. The law would ban developers from selling new houses as leaseholds, make it cheaper to extend leases, increase standard lease lengths to 990 years, and make it easier for leaseholders to take control of their building management. However, many of these measures require secondary legislation, which does not need further parliamentary approval but has yet to be enacted. Despite promises made in the King's Speech to swiftly implement the Act, nearly 100 days into the government's term, no major actions have been taken. Ministers have cited the complexity of leasehold reforms as a reason for the delay, but this has sparked concern among campaigners that progress is stalling. Sebastian O'Kelly, CEO of the Leasehold Knowledge Partnership, stated, "There is no reason for Labour to dawdle on reforming leasehold into the oblivion it deserves. The government also needs to bring in the secondary legislation to reform enfranchisement and implement standard format service charge accounts." Henry Scoffin, founder of Free Leaseholders, added, "Leaseholders voted for change and an end to the cost of living crisis. The King's Speech commitments to quickly activate the provisions of the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act 2024 are vital. The law is there and many policies can be switched on now." A spokesperson for the Housing Department reassured the public, saying, "The government will bring the outdated leasehold system to an end. The legislation to do so is a priority, which is why it was in our first King's Speech. We will act quickly to provide homeowners with greater rights, powers and protections over their homes by implementing the provisions of the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act 2024. Reform of the leasehold system has been a goal for several governments, but meaningful changes have been elusive. Government figures show there were 4.8 million leaseholders in England in 2022 to 23, with 3/4 living in flats. Michael Gove, former Housing Secretary, pledged to end the feudal leasehold system, but instead passed a package of reforms to give leaseholders more power within the system. Labour, which promised more ambitious reforms, has only implemented minor technical parts of the Act since taking office, leaving significant changes like the ban on new leasehold houses and protections for leaseholders in legal disputes untouched. Leasehold reform is gaining traction among Labour MPs, particularly in urban areas, with many pushing for broader legislative change. Joe Powell, Labour MP for Kensington and Bayswater, commented, "There were some useful steps forward in the recent legislation, but it doesn't go far enough. The government should focus on implementing the legislation correctly and simultaneously prepare broader reforms to finally bring an end to the entire system."
Subscribe to our newsletter to receive our weekly bulletins and stay ahead of what's shaping the super prime property market.